Hello, everyone. Justin here, voice of Lucas. You may be wondering why this episode is so long, and you're in for a treat. This is mostly for some updates and announcements, but at the end, we will have a full-length preview of our Patreon-exclusive podcast. But I'll get to that. So, first off, minor update. Even though we haven't been able to meet in person lately, everyone here at Little Giant Monsters has been doing all right, and I sincerely hope the same goes for everyone listening out there. Now, the big question. We've had a few people ask us if the Cryptid Cases was going to continue. And the answer to that is an unequivocal yes. As most of you probably know, we did have to put the final 2 episodes of the season on hold when COVID and quarantine and everything else first started, but they had both been written. Danielle and I had recorded our parts for Lucas and Mia, and the rest is like 75% done. We really just have a few guest roles that need recording before we can edit the episodes together. And now that things have slightly calmed down, we are committed to finishing these last 2 episodes, either remotely or in person, but safely. And beyond season 3, we do have the entire arc of the series planned out from start to finish, and there is no way we'd leave you all on a cliffhanger. Believe me, I've been on the receiving end of unresolved stories and plot lines before, and I know it is the worst. Even if it just came down to performing every role myself, I would make sure the story got told one way or the other. So don't worry about that. Since we haven't released anything in a while, that brings us to the good news. Well, I guess finishing season 3 is also good news, but the more pressing good news. We thought we would return to our normal bi-weekly schedule and share a few more hoax minisodes to tide everyone over. This batch was going to come between seasons 3 and 4, as we've done with previous season breaks, but we decided to share them now instead. This will also, of course, include sketches for each creature on Mondays after each episode on our social media, like we usually do. Now, the goal is, fingers crossed, that by the time these minisodes have all come out, the final 2 episodes of season 3 will also be ready to continue on that bi-weekly schedule. While we're on the subject of the minisodes, they're going to be just a little different from usual, and I just want to explain why. To go behind the curtains for a minute, I've always enjoyed the thought of the Cryptid Cases coming out basically in real time. When we take a break in real life, Lucas and Mia are on a break from adventuring. And it's currently been a while since you've heard from them. But honestly, I don't want to write the COVID pandemic into the series. Not to ignore or downplay any of it, but personally, I've always enjoyed stories for their escapism. And even though Lucas and Mia may live in a world of monsters and bad guys and dangerous things, I don't want them to live in a world with a global pandemic. What fun would that be? Although, again, I don't want to downplay anything. I hope everyone's still taking it seriously and, continuing to wear your masks and social distance, all that stuff. We love you guys. We want you to be safe. Anyway, my point is, rather than having Lucas or Mia present these episodes in character, it's just going to be me, as myself. I do hope you'll still enjoy them. We've got 4 stories in the coming weeks, all from the early 20th century, and some of them take some real turns. Since we're doing the minisodes now, we won't have them in between seasons 3 and 4. But that's not to say we won't have anything in the interim. I would absolutely love to do a Q&A behind the scenes episode. So, to do that, we need questions. If you've got any questions about the show, or making it, or Little Giant Monsters in general, or hell, anything else, please ask us. Send it our way. You can either email us, littlegiantmonsters@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we'll put links to all of those in the show notes. One final bit of news for the show. We are currently working on putting episode transcripts up on our website, as well as uploading the full series to YouTube for anyone interested in listening to the show that way. So keep an eye out for those. And speaking of YouTube, check out our channel if you haven't already. If you didn't know, we currently have 2 unscripted shows on there. Danielle Tries Weird Things, in which the voice actor for Mia eats and drinks all sorts of weird foods, and Drinkosaurus, in which frequent podcast guest voice Matt takes us through cocktail making. I promise they're both a lot of fun. To switch gears now, I mentioned Patreon at the beginning of this episode. As you may have heard in our end credits or seen in our show notes, we do in fact have a Patreon. For anyone that's interested in supporting us, it helps us continue to make the show, and it's just a real great ego booster. We already have a few patrons, and we are so appreciative of them. So, allow me to switch into telethon mode for just a moment. We currently have 4 tiers. For $1 a month, you'll be a bronze monster, and forever in our hearts for being awesome. Now, for $3 a month, you can be a silver monster. You'll get a shout out in the next full episode of the show, and your name will be added to the thank you page of our website and any video credits for our YouTube videos. At $5 a month, that gets you the gold monster tier. Once again, you get the shout outs, but at this level, you also get early access to all our podcast episodes and videos. And, even more exciting, the bonus content. At least once a month, we'll share something special. Whether it's the prototype test episode we recorded when starting the Cryptid cases, or other things we've done before we officially formed Little Giant Monsters. We've got some actual play RPGing, and most often, Frame 352. Frame 352 is a movie discussion podcast in which we watch a movie, usually Cryptid related for obvious reasons, and then we talk about it. We're sharing the first episode of Frame 352 in its entirety after this, so stick around and hopefully you'll enjoy it. But before we get to that, there is one final level of patronage. For $10 a month, you could be a diamond monster. You get all the rewards and access of lower tiers, but some extra little goodies on top. First of all, you'll get a physical, personalized postcard in the mail. Secondly, you'll gain access to a once-a-month live hangout with myself and other members of the LGM family. I'll be drawing and we can answer questions, just chat, or, whatever you want. It'll be fun. Hopefully, some of that might sound appealing to y'all out there, and even if not, we love you guys anyways. If you want to support us non-monetarily, you can also always leave us a review on Apple. But seriously though, we're just happy people are listening and enjoying the show. It's certainly been the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and you all have my thanks. You've been awesome. I think that's everything we wanted to talk about today, so it's goodbye for now, and right after this, you should be hearing the first episode of Frame 352. Bye! Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of our Little Giant Monsters bonus show, Frame 352. We're going to see how this goes, because this is our first attempt at a unscripted podcast, but this is a gift, a thank you for our patrons. I am Justin Jacobs. I play Lucas on the Cryptid cases, and I write it and do the sketches. And then if you guys want to introduce yourselves...
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm one of the editors, and I do a bunch of other stuff for the Cryptid cases, and Danielle Tries Weird Things and whatnot.
I am Danielle Verrier, and I voice the wonderful Mia Miller on the Cryptid cases. And then I eat weird shit on Danielle Tries Weird Things. You might notice I sound a little weird today. Let's just acknowledge this right off the bat. I have allergies. It's gonna be rough.
Hi, I'm Dan, and I edit, but mostly I just wander in off the street and hang around until they kick me out.
So first of all, a huge thank you to our patrons. The reason we are doing this, well, this bonus podcast specifically, not why we're doing everything. We just like creating. You want to open your candy?
I'm doing it very quietly.
No, you're not.
It's not a candy, it's a cough drop for those listening. I need this.
Yeah, my tongue begs to differ.
My tongue begs to differ.
Also, the only one who did their homework ahead of time, so I feel like I earned that.
We definitely
we all
did it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Otherwise,
the
we'd be
most-
watching it right now.
The most ahead of time.
If you hear some little tapping noises in the background, that is
That's
our
our
dog.
It's our own little giant monster.
We just brought
Yeah.
his toy in here, so
Hopefully it'll keep him quiet.
yeah.
All right, let's get down to this before we ramble for an hour and don't talk about anything. So, the name of this bonus show is called Frame 352, which I got from the very famous Bigfoot Patterson film. It's the one frame where he's got like the one hand in front and one in back. And that frame is named specifically because it's been reproduced so many times it's in public domain, even though the rest of the film is not. But I just thought it sounded cool, so
Yeah, it also just sounds cool.
so it's the name of our bonus show, and I also chose it because the idea of this show is that we will be watching films related to cryptids, or in the future when we have other shows, films related to other things we're making.
There will be other bonus content, but this is
For this show specifically.
Yeah, this is just for one thing we'll have.
And for today's episode, to begin with, I thought we would start with a classic, 1987's Harry and the Hendersons. So I guess before we get into the plot, had you guys all seen this before, I assume?
No.
I watched it a bunch.
Wait, you haven't seen Harry and the Hendersons before?
I had no idea what it was. Is this a surprise to anyone?
Jesus
Really
Christ.
shouldn't.
I think you guys might have shown it at some point in some kind of capacity, because I think I remember some of it, but I don't actually remember any of it.
Wow, we had different childhoods. You
Yeah.
and
I mean, I
Jesse.
guess that's less... Now that I think about it, I was obsessed with monsters. I am basically Lucas, so it makes sense that I would have a fondness for this film.
I don't know why I watched it, but I remember
Well, it's very
watching it a lot.
pro animal.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me that you liked it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you haven't even heard of it, though.
Yeah, you hadn't even heard of it?
No, I had no idea.
Wow.
I saw the
So you
like,
came into that, like,
yeah, I
brand-
saw the one
I'm
frame
excited to hear it through
on,
your
on
eyes a
Netflix,
little
and I
bit.
was somewhat dreading it because I just saw it and I was like, oh god, Sasquatch, same with the family. I was gonna be like, oh,
That
this is
actually
rough.
makes a lot of sense because this was created by Amblin
Yeah.
Entertainment,
Spielberg's
which is Spielberg's company, and
who made
you
your
might
favorite
also
film,
know
E.T.?
a movie by them called E.T.
Yeah.
Actually, it was originally going to be Amblin, and their name is still on it, but it ended up getting produced by Universal because Spielberg didn't want his name on it.
Which is weird to me,
I
because
frankly think
it
this
is...
would have been better on this than on ET, but that's another
It was
discussion.
I guess Spielberg made some like suggestions that
They didn't take.
what's his name? Is it Deer?
Yeah.
Yeah, the director and writer Deer didn't want to take. So,
Oh dear.
All right,
so
well,
anyways, moving on.
well, I thought we'd just go through the plot and whatever thoughts we had, and then we can talk about trivia and stuff at the end, and whatever else comes to mind. So,
Okay, take us on this cinematic journey.
so the movie opens on like that, a very like first person monster perspective.
Yeah, it almost felt like a horror movie when it opened.
Oh, I think that's definitely what they were going
Yeah,
for.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the stark trees.
The music was
and-
definitely very
It was very much like
and-
Evil Dead when you see like
Evil
the
Dead
is
presence
exactly
going
what I
towards
thought
the
of,
cabin,
yeah.
not as fast, but
It's ironic you mentioned Spielberg because when it first opened, it reminded me a lot of E.T., and I was very anxious watching it because I did not like that.
Well,
for the record, Danielle has an intense dislike of E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
I would call it a fear, actually.
Yeah.
Some might call it that.
So then we hear George and Ernie, the father and son, talking about, I don't even know, just talking about hunting.
yeah.
And then they cut to the dad with the dead rabbit. I love Ernie in this scene.
Oh my god, I love Ernie in the whole
Yeah,
movie.
Lunch,
The little
and
son.
I killed it.
Well,
It's my first blood.
And right off the bat, they're, I try to pick up on like color themes and stuff like that. They're both wearing red,
Oh.
which is, it seems
Oh.
to be tied with people who are interested in harming wildlife or something. I'm trying to tie it together. Maybe this wasn't even intentional. It's impossible to know these things usually. but they were both wearing red, and that comes up a lot throughout the movie.
Are you sure it didn't mean that they were dead already?
Wait a minute.
Hmm.
And then the sister, Sarah, is like very against it. She calls him a butcher. Almost seems like she might be like a vegetarian or something, or at least in like the rebellious teenager, like, you guys love hunting, so I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah, she seems a little turned off by everything.
Well,
Yeah, that was her role.
Teens, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very stock teen sister character.
Insert generic teen.
Right.
So they're camping. They leave there, and I really enjoyed the montage of them driving away before they hit Bigfoot, because they sort of had animals, but growing in scale.
I'm impressed with I always wonder how much it costs, because they clearly had a trained otter, a trained baby bear.
I wrote them all down.
Okay.
In order. First a squirrel, like each, like in the cars in the distance, and like the animals in the foreground. So first they drive by a squirrel, then an otter, a little bigger, then a mountain lion, and then a baby bear, which is a little smaller, and then a deer. So I do like the progression, and then of course Bigfoot. So
Right.
so it's like, of all the animals you could hit, there's a lot of them here.
I found it odd that it almost felt cheap in the beginning, because you see all this footage of the car driving through the mountains and stuff, and then you hear what is basically they recorded voiceover, but you don't see the people talking. It just felt lazy, but so I was like, I hope this movie's not way worse than I remember.
Yeah,
it gets better though, so
it felt like the scene in A Talking Cat where you just see them driving down the road like 3 times in the same footage. But it did surprise me how early on they hit Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Because it was in like, not even the first 5 minutes, but I feel like most movies would at least get maybe like 15 minutes getting to know the characters and everything before introducing anything like plot-wise.
Right.
I thought that was interesting.
I was surprised that they hit Bigfoot.
Well,
You at least knew the film was about Bigfoot, right?
I knew the film was about Bigfoot, but
Okay.
I had no idea what
How he entered the story.
I didn't really know where Bigfoot was going to enter, and so I was slightly surprised when they just hit Bigfoot, and I was like, well, I mean, I guess that's...
I will say, I mean, it is an interesting
huh?
idea. What if Bigfoot were roadkill?
Okay, so it changes from Harry and the Hendersons to look what's for dinner.
Yeah. It's dead, I'm sure of it. Are you sure? You said that the first time.
Oh god, her gag with putting the window down, saying it quickly,
and then rolling
it
the
back
window all
up.
the way back up. That was genuinely really funny.
It really was.
And then Ernie, it's definitely dead. Shoot it, Dad. No, it's dead. Shoot it again. He was out for blood.
Yeah, he stays in red the whole movie.
Well, I find it funny though, because later on he like loses that characteristic almost immediately.
I know, yeah.
He's like the most happy to have Bigfoot there.
He does have something like over his red shirt again, and maybe I read too much into it, but yeah.
So they make that makeshift pulley to put Bigfoot on the truck, which I really enjoyed, because I know it hasn't happened too often, but whenever in the Cryptid cases I have Lucas and Mia like moving an animal, I know there's probably no way they would be able to move creatures that big, but I'm like, hopefully no one puts this much thought into it.
If you get the physics in your favor, it looks
like
you could move anything.
If anyone asks, they built pulleys too.
Yeah,
they were inspired.
Just like this movie.
Yes.
Never skip leg day.
Yeah, exactly.
Also that.
So they go back to Seattle, where the film takes place. Obviously, Pacific Northwest is where all the Bigfoot sightings are from.
Mm-hmm.
So
they pretty much filmed where it took place, and I think even Index was the town that they filmed in, and they mentioned Index. Yeah, you're crunching over there. Yeah, if you guys hear crunching,
I was finishing it. I'm getting Danielle's sick. I'm getting over a cold.
It's
There's
an
a lot
allergy.
of cough drops.
It's not sick.
Okay, whatever.
I don't believe
clarify that.
And then we already get our first glimpses of Jacques Lafleur, the hunter.
Of course, he's French.
With a name like Jacques, what do you expect?
We'll talk about Jacques later. I have some thoughts about him. So they bring him back. They think he's dead. They go to sleep, and then George wakes up in the middle of the night.
It was 5:30 a.m.
Oh, whatever.
5:28.
It was dark out.
5:28 a.m.
He wakes up,
That's my...
goes downstairs to look at Bigfoot. Surprise, surprise, he's not dead. Now, since you didn't know where the movie was going, did you think he was dead and another Bigfoot would show up somehow, or did you know he was
No,
really
I knew
alive?
he was gonna
Come back.
Jeez, low standards for me, huh?
Yeah, sometimes.
No.
I'm just curious. I mean, since you're coming into this with basically no outside knowledge, I am curious.
No, once they brought the Bigfoot to the house, I was like, well, this is how they get the Bigfoot in the house.
Yeah.
Alright, that's it. He's clearly not dead, and he's gonna...
So then, of course, Bigfoot's not on top of the car. He's alive. They find him in the kitchen, just going through everything. And then I absolutely love, he eats the sister's 15th birthday corsage that she was going to save for the rest of her life.
I mean, but that's a thing for everybody, right? We all wear our 15th
Well, I mean,
birthday corsage.
it's such a good touch for like a teen character to think that that's so important. But
Well, she saved up for 6 months.
No, she saved it for 6 months.
Oh,
it had been
I thought
6
she
months.
saved up for 6 months.
No,
Well,
I think she had saved it for 6 months.
Well, clearly then the corsage was bad
Yeah.
because that's why the Sasquatch didn't like it.
Weird.
And then he just continues to cause a lot of property damage, raising the door frame to walk through, punching a hole when he sees the dead deer, the mounted head on the wall.
I love how horrified he was and, like,
Oh my God.
confused.
So many dead animals in this house. I know it was, like, intentionally, like, they did it for plot reasons, but still, like, so many
I know. Every time
animals.
in the scene where he's gathering them all up, I was like, wait, there's still more?
Yeah. He takes, like, 3 trips to, like, shove stuff into the closet.
Jesus Christ, how many heads do you need?
Reminds me of when I visited my ex's parents' house, who were like, we have these beautiful zebras here. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of dead zebras in this house.
Jeez.
Zebra?
Look at all these different stripes. And you're like, oh my God, there's so many animals. But, like, I didn't expect that reaction from Sasquatch.
I did like that he buried them all.
Yeah, like this. I didn't expect this much from this movie, but this movie made me happy, sad. I really actually liked it a lot.
Oh yeah, this movie holds up very well.
No, it was good. Like, I knew he was obviously going to have to be more gentle and not aggressive because of ending up with a family, but I was like, oh my God, this Sasquatch is sweet.
Yeah. Plus, they don't explicitly say this, but it also explains in the world of the movie why no one finds Bigfoot bodies, because they bury their dead.
Yeah.
Because at one point, like, I forget who, but 2 people are talking, they're like, oh yeah, they eat their dead, which is why you don't find dead bodies, but they bury them. So I thought that was a nice... I assume that's what they were going for.
There's a scene later that I'm not gonna say, but it makes me think of that. That was like oh my God, I love that scene so much. Like, I'll say it before we get to it, but I'm really excited about it right now.
So then, of course, George tries to kill it, looks it in the eyes, and you realize, like, I can't do this.
Yeah, are you talking about the ladder scene?
When he, like, climbs up to...
Yeah. So I really liked the lighting in that scene because he's looking in the windows through the scope of his gun and everything, and you see Harry in the shadows, and as he approaches George, he comes into the light. And there's even when he gets hit scene, there's like light, the sun is directly behind George's head as he's looking down at Sasquatch. So I feel like they do a lot of playing with the lighting and like enlightenment. Like George is becoming more aware of like how he should act towards nature or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he was literally blinded when he hit Bigfoot. That's why he hit him. So.
Right. So
that's...
I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously it can't kill Bigfoot.
I just like on the lighting in the house too. Like, I think that as far as like the costuming goes in like that whole first scene, I was really worried about this being an old movie and it being like some B-rated like sci-fi, like, oh God. But I was like, holy shit, especially with the way that house is lit up at the start, like, it looks fantastic.
I was gonna say this for later, but this film is actually an Oscar award winner. It won Best Makeup.
Well, that's good.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Rick Baker.
Yeah, Rick
did
Baker
the makeup,
done.
Who did
American Werewolf in London, The Howling, a ton of films.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he did something else that
I'm
totally forgetting now.
He
But
worked on
this
Star
is
Wars.
Like,
he's even like things he wasn't like the lead person on. He's worked on a ton. Yeah, I meant to leave his IMDb page up, but we'll get back to him.
When Michael Jackson transforms in his music video,
yeah.
he did that as well. So I mean, he's pretty high caliber.
Yeah, he's very good.
He actually said his work on Harry and the Henderson is one of his proudest achievements.
Aww. Well, he did win an Oscar.
I mean, it's also even more impressive because you really have to empathize that this thing is, more human than animal, which makes it even more of a challenge because making a monster look realistic is one thing.
Valley thing,
but then making it look like sweet and caring and so emotive, it is really well done.
Right.
And they definitely succeeded.
Yeah, I think that's what I really liked about the costume is the emoting. It wasn't stiff. Like the animatronics within it were done. Yeah, the face was very expressive. Really well. Yeah.
Like the big goofy smiles and like the eyebrows and everything.
Yeah.
So at this point they basically realize he's not going to hurt them. They it's daytime at this point. They send him into the basement with Ernie. I have a legitimate question. Did peanut butter used to be stored in refrigerators? Because the nosy neighbor comes over to give them their dog back, and then she asks for peanut butter.
And goes straight to the fridge.
Her and the mom go straight to the fridge, which I immediately thought was ridiculous, but it was the 80s, so...
Well,
you
okay,
don't
so
put
here's
peanut
the
butter
thing.
in the fridge?
No.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
No refrigeration necessary. It says like on
for natural ones.
No, it says no refrigeration necessary. Go get it, I swear.
I have 2 jars of peanut butter and almond butter in the fridge at home.
I figured I thought it was ridiculous at first, but that I figured some
the oils can go rancid. That's why.
But I did initially think it was very funny that they were both looking in the fridge for peanut butter.
It's hilarious. I'm the one normal one on something.
So and they get their cute little Jack Russell, which is the same type of dog we have. So it was extra special for us.
Well, Jen and Jesse.
Yeah.
We
don't all 4 share a dog.
Although he is kind of all of our dogs.
Jen and I are married. Dan and Danielle are our friends. So
they're his godparents.
So their neighbor is like the classic like nosy lady archetype.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to like deal with not letting her see Bigfoot. And then we get the hunter again visiting the North
Bigfoot
American Anthropological Society is like the name of it or whatever.
Yeah.
So first of all, I really like, did you guys notice what the Bigfoot sculpture was outside of the place?
Was it the one that we saw at the Cryptid?
No. It was a sculpture of Bigfoot holding a mountain lion in one hand, about to throw it at like 2 wolves that are barking at him.
Oh.
It was so bizarre, especially given like the attitude of that guy towards Bigfoots.
Yeah.
I liked, there was a little bit of another gag there where he's driving up towards the museum. Oh, well, that's later, I guess, when George is going.
Oh.
I'll talk about it later. But so whenever the hunter comes up, this is another lighting thing. He's just in a lot of shadows. They try to do disorienting angles, it seems like. Like they did some like really close up but like slightly angled up towards him too.
Yeah,
and
so
it just felt like, whoa.
So he's gone there because he finally found some real Bigfoot hair and he's talking to the guy that runs it, Wrightwood. Dr. Wrightwood. Which I also love that he calls Jacques Jocko. Like at first I was like, is that his name or is it a nickname? Jocko? Like, it sounds so...
That sounds like a mean high school name.
Yeah.
Hey, look at Jocko over there.
I was like, oh boy, but he ended up being a good character. So, back at the house, they're getting used to life with Bigfoot. He's destroying everything with his ass by teaching him to sit. As I wrote in my note, butt attacks.
Butt attacks.
He loves watching
swats,
TV,
man.
so he really is more human than animal.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pescatarian, which I find
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
I find really interesting because he refuses.
Like
he hates killing animals, dead animals. He won't eat burgers, but he's
Goldfish.
Yeah.
he eats goldfish alive. He swallows them whole. It just seems like I know they're going. I assume more realistic with that for something like. Not a bear, but some animals eat fish more than other meats. But it just seemed like such a weird choice for
Like
for
that
this
he would
movie.
eat anything that's alive.
Yeah, for this film specifically, it just seemed like a really weird choice that
Yeah.
like he's fine eating fish. But
Right.
like he's such an animal lover.
So how would he feel if there were like taxidermied fish up? Like,
He would probably
the
try
bird
eating them
trout.
and be,
Try to eat them,
be
yeah.
mad.
Whoever cooked this fish, it's dry.
And then he runs away. I don't even remember how.
He's sitting in the car when they're
Oh,
going to
right,
take
they're
him
gonna bring him
home.
home.
And that's why I didn't fully understand why he ran away in that scene, because he was seeing the little kid crying and he was like really upset about that.
I
but
think
then
it
he
was
took
more.
off running.
I
as
think
his
it was less
reaction.
running away and more maybe just like they weren't watching him, so he like wandered off. I think.
I don't know. I think like he had tears in
Yeah.
that scene. Like he
Yeah.
was watching and
Well, in that case, it could
crying,
be because
so-
he knew they were trying to get rid of him, and he.
He might have actually thought that he caused the sadness or
Oh,
something.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
very
that could be it.
ambiguous. But yeah, they lure him into the car with the McDonald's, the filet of fishes.
Yeah.
Give me that fillet of fish.
And he I love that they give him the burger and he tosses the meat behind him and just looks at it.
And a
Oh no,
dog
that's not
catches
your
it.
order. Oh yeah, the pack of dogs.
Yeah, there's just like a pack of dogs that show up all the time.
Why not?
So he runs away because George was trying to convince his family that they needed to bring him back to the wild. So then another scene with Ernie that I love. He tells their dog Little Bob. He opens the front
God,
door and
yeah.
he tells the dog to leave. And the dog runs away, which I just love.
It's almost like Ernie and Harry have a lot in common because they're picking up these cues from the parents.
Yeah, and they're not
Yeah.
quite taking the right messages.
Yeah, exactly. They're just applying it to everything.
Like, go.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
understand the
Be back where you
context of the
belong.
clues
Yeah.
or like how to use these cues, like what they fully mean, but they understands them in that one particular context. So
Harry has the intelligence of a not too bright 9-year-old boy. So around now, we learn that the dad works at a camping hunting store with a big focus on guns. So obviously no surprise given everything we've seen of him pre-empathizing with Harry.
Right.
All the, stuffed animal, taxidermied animals and stuff.
yeah, the stuffed animals he has on his wall. Oh, you gotta go into a hunter's house and be like, I love you, stuffed animals.
Yeah. Henderson and Sons, run by his father. And we kind of get this later that I think he wanted to be an artist, but his dad sort of more pushed him into the same sort of lifestyle as him.
Right.
Which does help explain like how easily he changes his attitude because
Yeah.
All along, that's who he truly was.
yeah, his dad just
Well, yeah, a lot of character development there.
Yeah,
but
but-
I think they did a good job of making...
definitely.
I mean, it's a campy movie in some ways, but it's also believable.
Yeah.
in a
It's
sense.
no more campy than like any kid's family
Right,
movie.
yeah.
George goes to the library, asks if he can find any books on Bigfoot, which I really loved.
Oh, you mean Sasquatch?
That's in the fantasy section.
You can also try kids' fairy tales.
Which is a little judgy from that lady, but okay. So he checks out a bunch of books and he's like, "Oh, these all portray Bigfoot as monsters, except this one book by this guy named Dr. Wrightwood,
Who happens to be a half hour up the road.
yeah." So
Convenient.
he goes there and the old man is like, "Nah, Wrightwood's not here." Like, did you see this coming? Did you know that was him?
Oh yeah, as soon as you started talking to him, I was
Okay.
like, it's clearly the guy, and he's just saying he's not there.
Yeah, he's
because
like,
he's done with this
yeah,
like Bigfoot
the guy
bullshit,
lying
so-
about being Dr.
yeah.
Wrightwood. It's very obvious. Probably for kids, it might be a twist, but
yeah.
so they talk as if he's not talking to Dr. Wrightwood. But the one part I really like when he's kind of like talking in favor of it, he's like, you live in the city, you see a ton of pigeons. You ever see a baby pigeon?
I have seen a baby pigeon, so when he said that, I was like, this is funny, because yes, I have seen a baby pigeon. How have you not seen a baby pigeon? Google
I
it.
haven't.
Google it right now.
In
In
person.
person. In person.
Hang on.
I just thought that was a funny analogy.
Yeah.
So we see some scenes of Harry just sort of making his way on his own, and
There was one thing that was notable to me there.
yeah.
So, like, he's looking out at the highway. I couldn't tell if that was green screen, first of all. where you see the back of him and
Yeah.
he's looking at the high.
Yeah.
And
There was some
something felt
shoddy
weird.
Yeah.
And then they did a
Layering.
layering
slow-mo
in some scenes.
scene
Yeah.
of his face. They showed the traffic, and he's like thinking about doing a Frogger and running
It was
across
filmed
it.
like a suicide scene
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, so it was like this weird slow motion where it's like, I was like, what are they going for
I'm
here?
Yeah, that
pretty
was-
sure that was the only slow-mo scene in the movie, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Which
I'm
made it
almost
even...
wondering, like, was it intentionally slow-mo? Or did they need to stretch that one clip a little
I
farther?
wouldn't be surprised if it was an accident, because I don't know if you two noticed, but on Netflix, after the credits, there's like 2 or 3 frames of like footage from the beginning of the movie with like the car driving through the woods that like I think just like accidentally ended up there. But
I
like,
didn't see it.
If you didn't watch to the end of the credits.
yeah, it was like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was
Okay.
literally like after everything else. It was like the last 3 frames of the file. So I don't know if it was on Netflix's fault or what, but definitely some weird technical. But yeah, that scene felt very weird. It felt like he was gonna like kill himself.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like I don't know how much intelligence you want us to ascribe to Harry.
Right.
But then also at this part, I absolutely loved the scene where he's looking at a woman cooking soup and a jacuzzi.
I was talking about earlier, and I was like, "Oh
That
my god!"
was awesome juxtaposition. Like the.
So
it
for
was
those
so
that haven't
good.
seen the movie lately or ever, on one side of this area, there's a house, and in the window is a woman cooking soup, and she's got a chicken breast, and she's slowly lowering
No,
it.
it's a whole chicken.
It's a raw
But this
chicken.
just really makes the scene.
Yeah.
It's like a whole
And
chicken
she's-
that
She picks it up by its like arms,
Yeah.
its wings.
And slowly dipping it into the bubbling, boiling soup. And then in the other yard, there's a bubbling jacuzzi, and there's like an older lady slowly getting in.
And
into
her
the jacuzzi.
husband or
And
someone
the-
is like
yeah.
And it looks
dipping
like
her
he's
into it.
holding
Yeah.
her up.
It's like exactly the same look
I know.
between the two things. They did such a good
I got
job
so worried.
there.
I thought Harry was gonna go like attack the guy because he thought he was
Yeah,
trying to cook
I-
the woman.
I had a
Like,
lot
that's
of-
what I thought was gonna happen.
Well, my first thought was he was gonna look at the soup and say, "Oh, I should go in the bubbling water like the chicken," and then he was gonna enjoy a swim in the jacuzzi. And then my second thought was, "Oh, he's gonna attack this man because he thinks he's cooking the lady."
I did originally think he
Yeah.
was gonna go in the jacuzzi, so
Yeah.
I was like,
So
oh.
I don't know what the scene was trying to convey, but I
That was
liked
funny.
it.
There's
Yeah.
just
some
humor.
parts that are just
Yeah.
funny for
It-
the
it
sake of being
was-
funny.
Sometimes they're just gags.
Yeah, it was a very good sight
Which,
gag.
that was what I was gonna say about the Rightwood scene. When George is driving there,
Mhm.
it's got this series of signs that he keeps looking at on the roadside. It's like Bigfoot, X miles,
Oh.
and then like
Oh, yeah.
something else, X miles, and then it just says gas.
Gas.
I was like, oh,
Gas.
he must not be making a lot of money, and he has to promote it in any way that he can.
Yeah, because it is also part gas station.
Yeah.
And then we get a confrontation with, as I wrote in my notes, the scared biker baby, a bicyclist who claims Bigfoot attacked him, and he's like, "Oh, he picked me up on the bike and threw it to the ground." And then George comes up and he's like, "You probably just got scared and distracted and crashed into a stop sign and bonked your head. Isn't that how it happened?" And then the guy breaks down crying, "Yeah, I got scared."
I was proud of George in that moment. He really was
Yeah.
like, I'm not taking
And-
this shit. I am standing up for my buddy.
Yeah.
Even if
And
it's
there
on the
are
news and I
so
look
many
crazy.
news reporters in this scene. There's like
Yeah.
a frenzy, which I don't think I have ever seen that much coverage for like anything cryptid related. So definitely taking some liberties there, but like,
Yeah.
but then Harry sees that on TVs
This is
later.
my favorite scene by far.
He's wandering around at night and he comes to this window with all TV screens in it, and they're all playing the interview with George, so he gets excited. He rips the bars off the window, breaks in, grabs the TV to look at George. First of all, he licks George's face on the TV.
And it makes a really good crackling sound. Like,
And I was also disappointed
Yeah.
he didn't like lick anyone's face in person, because that would have been really gross and funny.
yeah.
But so then he's like so happy he's got George. He tries to take the TV. It gets unplugged. He smashes it. Gets
He just drops it,
Well,
yeah.
He gets another one. Takes it away. It gets unplugged. Turns off. He breaks that one. And then a cop car comes and he's got a third TV at this point, and he like throws it at their windshield.
At this point, too, there's a lot of before the cops arrive. There's a lot of red lighting in that scene. It's like saturated, so that's like everything's coming down on Harry at this point, where like everyone's against him. So
Yeah.
I think it made sense to see a lot of red tones
Having forgotten the plot of the movie. I really thought this was the climax of the film
Mm.
because like everything really amps up at this point. Like the cops,
Yeah.
the cops are really heavily mobilized, not so much for Harry, but everyone in town has sort of gotten Bigfoot mania, and like you see at the gun store, like everyone's going crazy trying to buy guns because they all want to be the one to kill Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And also
we
we
all gotta
see,
kill it. We can't just
yeah,
capture
we
it,
also
of
see what a
course.
douchebag his dad is because he's like,
Yeah.
draw me a picture of Bigfoot, and
Oh
then
my God,
it comes out so
that
nice.
scene.
And then this is like the one thing I do remember from the movie is when he draws over the nice
The
picture
dad
with like
draws over George's
with like sharp
picture.
teeth and like bright red eyes. That's like the one image of the movie I remember that sticks with me. And he's like so hurt and he quits. But
Walks
George's
out.
drawing, I thought it was so precious.
It
and
was.
adorable. I was like, oh my God.
and actually
I love
that picture they used is Rick Baker's original sketch
Oh,
design for Harry. Yeah.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
So everyone's got Bigfoot mania. They've got guns. They're all out on the streets looking for Bigfoot. Obviously, that's a dangerous situation. So that's really why all the cops are out, and like it really feels like a war zone. Like
Yeah.
like it's night. The streets are empty. We just see like shots of George and Harry running around. Like
that
the
one
cops
for
arresting
the
people.
First guy that pops out when you think they're gonna get George, but it's the other guy that comes
Yeah.
out. He's dressed all like Rambo.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that really like
yeah,
ties in the
Yeah.
war
I like
zone
that scene
scene because
too.
he's got like the Rambo outfit, the headband, and like
Yeah,
the
in
ammunition belt
in
and
the
everything
same
on.
in the
Yeah.
same scene, the same shot. The guy comes out of hiding with like dressed like Rambo. The cops arrest him. Then a minute later, George comes out of hiding, runs down the road, and then a minute later, Jacques comes out of hiding right behind him.
Yeah.
Silly.
It's pretty much
It's
Scooby-Doo-esque
and
at
Harry
that point.
runs
Yeah.
across the alley. In the
Yeah,
back
Harry
at one
runs in the
point,
background, which is
too.
even more
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo-esque.
Like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's a very Scooby Doo scene right there. Which
Yeah.
is
You at the
hilarious.
Benny Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is legitimately pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like whenever I watch like an older like kids / family movie, I expect it to be like
You want to
very
roll your
cheesy,
eyes or something.
but like a lot of the humor I legitimately still found
Yeah.
funny.
No, I actually
really
thought
works.
it was
Because
really
it was
good.
like subtle in some ways.
Yeah.
But also some of it was so just like gag humor. I don't know.
I went into
Yeah.
it thinking I was gonna
Yeah.
hate it, and
E-
I was like, God
even-
damn it, I
even-
like this movie a lot. It's making me sad.
Even like the very beginning, after Harry gets hit, they put him on the car. They're driving, and then he wakes up and they slam on the brakes, and he goes flying, and then he does like a head over heels flip onto the ground. Like
Yeah.
even some of the physical humor
Yeah.
too.
I was really hoping for a Wilhelm scream there, like toned down.
Yeah,
it wasn't there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would have been good.
it wouldn't have been out of place. So finally, Harry and
Shock.
yeah, they meet in a dumpster being held up by a garbage truck, which seemed weird but looked cool.
That garbage truck had all red lights in it. Again,
Ooh.
in the driver, in like where the driver sits and stuff. The cab. Is that what I would call it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I vote yes.
Yeah, I think the
Okay, in
cab.
the cab.
So Jacques attacks him, but Harry sort of inadvertently knocks him out, and then him and George finally get reunited. George decides to drive the garbage truck out of there. Well, he starts telling Harry to come down, and he's like, "No, wait, stop!" Because the cops are coming.
Yeah.
So George is driving there with a Harry Jacques in the
Yeah.
in the dumpster.
And then Jacques wakes up, tries to shoot Harry. Some well-timed like brake presses knock him around, and he misses. Which that part did feel a little cheesy, like, oh, he just happened to hit the brakes at the right time. But I mean, for a kids movie,
whatever. Yeah.
little things like that are like fine.
But oh my goodness, when Harry then picks up the dropped gun and points
Oh
it
my
at
god, I
himself.
loved that part. Well, I loved it first when he was just holding it. I was like, oh, Bigfoot with a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he looks down the barrel, and then Jacques reaches forward to pull the trigger. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Got really close on that one.
Yeah, almost
But
got
then I'm
really
pretty
dark.
sure the whole dumpster falls off the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, they crash,
Off
and
the
then he manages to get Harry back into his car, and they
Yep.
drive home. They're all happy to see Harry, but then I really enjoyed the Chekhov's closet full of dead animals. I was like, I was not expecting that closet to come back into play, but
I remembered that part.
they accidentally open it, all the heads and dead animals come falling out, and Harry just looks like so betrayed.
mortified.
Yeah.
Like
And then, of course, George is like, I know what to do. And they go bury them all in the yard. And
The antlers
stick out of the dirt. Another
Actually,
great sight gag.
Yeah.
I am really, I was really impressed by the fact that they could get the Bigfoot to do the, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
face.
Yes.
And then he like pats down the dirt, and then Harry steps on it with his big foot.
Cute.
So then he steals some roses next door, and we learn that the nosy neighbor is super racist because she calls her gardener
Aw.
Kimchi.
Yeah.
He's like, my name is Kim Lee. And of
Poor
course she
thing.
asks where all the roses went. And then we get a scene that made me very uncomfortable because I thought Harry wanted to the daughter because he goes into her room holding a bouquet of roses.
Oh no, it's because he ate
Oh,
her
God.
flower.
Oh no, I get it. I realize that's why he did it. But at first, it felt like, I'm giving you these flowers because I want to
Oh boy.
Like-
Jeez.
I did not get that
No,
sense.
he's way too sweet for that. I mean, that's the first place my mind goes with literally everything. And it
Like,
did not
I know
go
it's a
there for
kid's
that
movie,
scene.
and that wasn't gonna happen, but like, just the vibe
Well-
of him going into her bedroom.
Well, they
Yeah.
didn't
Alone.
show him waist down for that shot, did they?
Oh my god!
Wait, she was. Yeah, do you want to say it?
No, you can say it.
At the beginning, they're talking about, well, we don't even know if he's a boy or girl. And then the daughter goes, it's a boy. And the mom goes, how do you know?
Wait, I don't want to ask.
Yeah, she said, wait, don't answer that.
Oh yeah, because she mimes looking down or something.
Yeah,
like
she like starts to gesture.
very
or
clearly
something.
referencing his
That she
Bigfoot
saw
penis.
his, dong. So, I mean, I guess if you take that into
Can
account.
it be that big? Because it's not like we actually saw it hanging around in the film, and he did a lot of running.
They
Let's just
heavily
spend the rest
imply.
of the night talking
they
about.
heavily imply. Well, okay, we'll get to it. We'll circle back.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
so
longer in that.
so he makes
area.
up. He makes up to the daughter, gives her roses. Everything's happy. They invite Wrightwood over for dinner. And then the great hiding Bigfoot, and he's like telling them like, look, I wasted my life looking for Bigfoot. He's not real. And the whole time Harry is like slowly sneaking up on him, and
Just
finally
another
like,
good example of like
just
it's just like cute, happy,
yeah, good
funny.
visual gag, and like
Yeah.
he's like, they're all laughing at him, and he finally turns and sees him, and is like super happy.
I thought he was going to have a heart attack
I
and
kind of
die in
thought
that
that
scene.
too.
I was like, oh no, I don't remember this part. Does he die?
That would have been good if they wanted to like really lean into like mistakenly blaming Harry for like killing someone.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that would have been way too dark for this
Oh,
movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
for
no.
sure. That's why I was like, no, they wouldn't.
Harry would not be able to get over that.
Much like how Harry had the dog by the head at some point, and it was like,
Yeah,
no,
just-
they're
Oh,
not going to
yeah,
kill the dog.
Yeah, when he first sees the dog, he like it's growling at him, as of course Jack Russell very much would, and he just picks it up and like holds its mouth shut.
Like, quiet.
Yeah,
Quiet
to
thing.
quiet it, and then, like you could very easily crush this thing's skull in your hands.
Yeah.
I totally knew he wasn't though.
Oh
I was
well,
like,
obviously, yeah. But then like the mom comes over and like takes his hand off the mouth and like teaches him how to pet it. It's very
and it
sweet.
was like
Yeah.
precious.
Like
and
he
I
clearly
loved it.
loves animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want a Sasquatch friend.
So then Wrightwood agrees to help them relocate Bigfoot. He's like, I know a place. We'll go in the morning. And this was another good gag. He's like, all right. And then he walks out the door, closes the door, and I had the same thought that they said too. He was like, I wonder when he's coming back. He didn't say
even
bye
say
or
when
anything. And then 2 seconds later, he walks in with a sleeping bag and lays right next down to Harry, who brought branches in to lay on to sleep on.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, I'm just gonna sleep here next to Bigfoot.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is my couch crashing set, you know,
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
have it at all times.
Probably
Yeah.
a pretty safe place to sleep. You sleep pretty soundly knowing
Well,
you got Bigfoot.
And then it
who's your
cuts to the
friend
next
right there,
morning,
huh?
and he's like snuggling with the kid and the dog,
Yeah,
and it's like just a
Ernie.
very, very
little
cozy pile.
Just a little cuddle pile.
Yeah.
Oh,
One big
I
branch.
love cuddle
Yeah.
piles.
So then
The biggest spoon can afford all
Yeah.
the little spoons.
that's what I said to Jen when he came in with the sleeping bag. I've been dreaming of this big spoon all my life. So at this point, before they can leave to relocate Harry, Jacques tracks them down. Well, he's already sort of been nosing around and stuff. But he's finally there, so they sort of hightail it out of there, slash his tires, so he steals their car, and they're all in Wrightwood's very old truck.
Speaking of stealing their car, I did find it entertaining. He was saying, oh, don't scratch the paint up. and yet the car's been making weird sounds ever since they ran into Sasquatch.
Yeah,
It's
the-
like a
it was
crappy
falling
car.
apart.
The front
It's
is
anything
dented.
except the paint.
The front bumper's dented from hitting him.
No, the front bumper was gone at that point.
Oh, yeah.
He ripped
Well,
it off in that.
It was
before he
dented, and then
got-
Harry ripped it off. He
Yeah.
ripped one of the doors off. There's a huge dent in the ceiling from
Yeah.
his head.
Which they must have pushed back in at some point because
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
re-popped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the car looked much more put together than it did earlier. I was like, did they forget how?
Yeah, the car was definitely
Like,
not
there was not a lack of continuity
Yeah,
there. A
yeah.
little what happened to the car. I was like, this car's in really great shape.
I think the same door might have gotten ripped
I
off
think-
in 2 different scenes.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Where I was like,
You know how
wait, didn't
easy
this
it is to
already
just put
happen?
a door right back on the car.
He fixed it real fast.
Yeah.
So then we have the sort of high speed chase. They get to the highway and it's there's a lot of traffic.
Another best scene coming up.
So then
Oh my
then
god.
a cop car goes by with its sirens on. All the cars pull over. Yeah,
Part. Mhm.
and then they pull back and they're like, oh. Stuck in traffic. So then Harry sticks his head out of the wheel and reveals his parrot-like abilities of sound mimicry.
Actually, he had been mimicking sounds previously.
Had he?
Yeah, he had. Like, he was barking back at the dog.
Oh, I didn't even notice
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but he does like
Yeah.
a pitch perfect siren sound, and all the cars like pull over and they go by.
I
I was
stopped
kind
myself
of
from just
surprised
making a
though
siren
because
sound.
I'm like
Nice.
that the cars just pulled by. I'm like
Well,
they don't
it's
have
a-
any sirens for you to see.
That's another thing.
so,
It's like
Yeah,
a kid's
yeah.
movie. You got to
Yeah.
take some
You have
liberties.
to,
But
I
no, I
guess.
had that thought too.
So-
Suspend
kind
your
of-
disbelief a little
It's a
extra.
little hard for me to do that.
Um,
I already suspended it for Sasquatch being alive. I can't do it for sirens. That's a stretch for me.
Draw the line.
I draw the line at
being able to
sirens.
sound like a
God
siren. Damn it.
No,
Damn
not
it.
being able to sound like a siren. The fact that people
Oh,
move
sorry.
just from
Yeah.
the sound.
Okay,
and
that's
they
actually
can't see
fair.
anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Like-
I always wait till I see something. I'm like,
Yeah.
where is this
Yeah, I'm
coming
not
from?
fucking moving out of the way. Then people are gonna be cutting in front of me. They're gonna
Especially
get
on a busy
ahead.
highway.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
they could see Sasquatch making this
Yeah.
horrifying noise, and they're like, "Oh, fuck this!"
Which I don't know when else I'll bring it up, but Harry reminded me very much. I feel like he could also be related to the Bigfoot from a Goofy movie.
Oh yeah.
Like personality wise, I feel like they're very similar. Like that one was just like very like big and like big dumb dog, like Goofy sort
Yeah.
of personality and like same like big dumb smile.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they finally make it up to I don't remember some mountain.
They go to Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
I was hoping it was Witch Mountain.
And Jacques manages to catch up to them. So they fight up. Well, okay. So first of all, they have the very classic "Go get out of here! We don't want you."
Wait, but
scene.
before they get there,
Yeah.
wait, before they even get there, I love he drives by the road, the secret road that he's
Oh.
about to go. And he goes, "I always go by this, darn it!" And then like backs up, and then they go down.
His car is so old; it's like spewing gas.
Yeah.
And were they trying to say that that's how Jacques found them? Yeah.
That and like I would think it was dust and smoke.
it was like
combined.
it was like shooting out so much
Yeah.
smoke because it was like an old like 40s
Yeah.
looking truck or something.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they're doing that like very cliched, like "Go get out of here, we don't want you." And
Yep.
then George punches Harry in the jaw.
Yeah.
He didn't punch him. He slapped him.
Oh, he slapped him? I thought he punched
It
him.
sounded
It
like a
was
punch.
a slap.
Yeah. And then like the rest of the movie, it keeps cutting to like Harry like holding
I
his
know.
cheek like it hurts.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah.
George, what the fuck?
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't a punch. That would have been way too violent. It was a
Okay.
slap.
All right. Well, still, he hits Harry.
I just wrote ending like Air Bud.
Yeah.
So-
and
Oh
then
my god, I know! That's exactly what it made me think of.
yeah.
Air Bud came
And I
out
was
later,
like,
obviously. So.
Oh, I
Yeah.
hate this.
And then of course the rest of the family's crying and
Because he just slapped his
Yeah.
sweet Sasquatch in the face.
and he finally like ends up walking away and so afraid he starts with like a look back at them and
Yeah.
so then he goes and they realize Jacques is going to show up. So they take all of Wrightwood's Bigfoot casts, duct tape them to their feet, and walk around in the snow so he can't follow Harry.
Yeah.
I thought they were rocks originally, so I was really confused when they're walking and it's making these perfect footprints. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, these are rocks. Like, I can suspend my disbelief a lot, but you're really drawing.
We
You're
found
pushing
two-
the limits here.
We found 2 big rocks for the feet, 5 little rocks for the toes, and we taped it all
And
together.
then I saw it, and then I was like, oh, it's the casts.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And then we see Harry up in the tree, and I love that he has pigeons
He
all
looks
over
like the
him.
I didn't even make that
pigeons all over
connection.
him.
All I could think of was the pigeon lady from Home
Yeah.
Alone 2.
That's also what I thought
But I thought that was a nice.
Yeah,
I
that's a nice
imagine it
comeback,
is a
or-
callback
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
baby pigeon comic.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. And then Jacques ends up finding him anyway, and they have a little tussle, and then we learn that Bigfoot does in fact have nards, because Jacques kicks him in the balls, and he instantly...
It takes a second, though.
Well,
no,
yeah.
it wasn't instant, because it made you think for a few
Bigfoot was
seconds.
clearly having the upper hand until he got kicked in the balls. So he clearly has male genitalia.
Yeah.
Also goes to show you, no matter what, always kick in the balls.
Yeah.
Because
Can
no
I-
More
matter how
man
tall
than
it'll take
animal.
you down.
I vote to disagree. Please don't kick me in the balls.
All right, I'll just poke you in the eyes then.
Okay, I'm fine with
Yeah,
this.
that's the other thing. It's either kick the balls or, if you're walking like in a dark parking lot, you keep your key between
Yeah, if you're
your
in a well-lit
fingers.
parking lot and you
totally
get,
fine,
you get
don't
attacked, don't do anything. You're fine.
Yeah, you're lit. People call 911.
So I forget what happens here.
Harry jumped out of the tree. They had their little
tussle, he gets
spat.
kicked in the
And
balls.
then you just see all these shots of Sasquatch running in the background. It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
kind of like the Duck Hunter or something.
It looks like he's running in the same stretch of woods
Yeah.
back and forth like 4
But he
times.
keeps hitting the trees.
And he keeps getting
then
shot
the
at.
dog jumps out of the window of the car.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Little Bob comes to the rescue and tries to
Like a
attack
typical
Shock.
Jack Russell Terrier.
Yeah.
Thinks he can go, kill somebody with a gun.
Yeah.
And then another great callback. Jacques picks up the dog, looks at it for a second, and then throws it. And then Harry catches it like he did earlier.
Yep.
Which was great. And then I forget what happened. Basically, they end up back at the car, and he's holding Jacques, and the family gets there too, and Jacques like, "Oh, please don't let him kill me."
George is now grabbing him and
He's
hitting his head
slamming
into the
him
car.
against the car, which was
Hitting
wonderful.
Jock's head.
Fuck yeah, George is getting revenge on this guy. And then I love Harry pushes them apart.
Yeah.
Guys, don't fight.
Actually, first thing he did was put his hand behind the head so that...
Yeah.
He stopped him from slamming his head and then pushed him apart. It was so nice. And then he's just holding Jacques, and Jacques like, "Don't let him kill me."
He thought that Harry was gonna squish his head because he had his hand on his head.
And then he starts petting his bald head like the dog.
And I was like, it's like he was barking at him.
That's exactly what I thought. He's like, it works for this other small
I
angry
didn't
creature,
even
so
think
let me
he
do
was
it for
roaring
this
at him.
bigger, small, angry creature is exactly what I thought was. He's
Yeah.
this
And then-
guy's like a little Jack Russell.
And then they basically end up hugging, and he's like, "Well, I guess I love Bigfoot now."
Guess I can't kill
And then suddenly he had a
I
clean
felt like
shirt.
he changed really fast.
That- well, he took his
that was
jacket off.
A shock.
him. He was shedding layers the whole time. So he had so many layers at first.
Well,
And
also,
by the end of the movie, he's down to just his one shirt.
but also, he's basically been trying to kill this thing for 20 years, and it just spares his life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, it is a kid's movie, I do feel like it is also partially warranted. Part of it is, it's a kid's movie, so, the power of love saves the day, but, also, it does kind of make sense.
Oh, I thought you meant change his clothes. You meant he changed.
No.
I thought...
I mean, as a person, not his clothes, Jen.
Well, because all of a sudden he's in a white shirt.
Well,
I thought that's what you
I
meant.
thought you were answering her by saying his loss of clothes represented him
it
being
is.
the
That's
Well,
exactly
that's what I was
what
trying to
thought.
imply with...
Yeah, I was
where
saying,
it's okay, so
Yeah.
he's no longer trying to kill Bigfoot,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah.
Same points, but different logic somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still all worked out.
So then, everyone's happy, and Harry realizes it's finally time to go, and this shot was great. He walks off into the woods, they're, looking at the trees, and then all of a sudden, 3 trees move slightly and turn into other Bigfoots
was
and walk
so
away,
impressed.
including a little tiny
Yeah,
baby
a little
Bigfoot.
baby. And
I rerounded to see, okay, no, they were actually there.
That was
I know,
very
and
impressive.
even after the first one moved, I was looking for the rest of them, and I was like, I don't see them. And then they moved, and I
Yeah.
was like, wait, where were
Which, I didn't have this in mind when I was writing it, but that's basically how I picture the Bigfoots in cryptid cases. You don't see them at all unless they want to be seen.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see that. Yeah, I just thought that was a really nice touch.
And then I like the little moment between Wrightwood and Jacques where Wrightwood's like, well, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
And Jacques like, well, there's still
Maybe
the
Loch
Loch Ness
Ness?
Monster.
Yeah.
Or something like, yeah, it's cute.
Was there anything else before credits? I do
don't
have a note
think
on the credits,
so.
Yeah, so happily
Yeah.
ever
Family
after.
photo,
Oh.
and that was it.
Oh yeah, before he
yeah.
walked away, they took like
Yeah.
a nice family photo with the dog and everything.
No.
Very cute.
Oh, so
Um,
precious. I hope they get to see him again.
So the credits were very
Yeah.
interesting. Not only was it on red instead of, it was like a red textured background.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The credits,
And the words themselves had this shadow, but like the angle
Yeah.
made it basically like the credits were happening twice.
yeah, it was very odd choice.
Strange.
And then besides that, there were scenes I thought.
Did you guys watch this? Did you
Yeah,
guys watch
I did.
this? Okay.
Very, I thought, randomly chosen, by the way, scenes from the movie where it started playing, and then it was like a very quick, like, epilepsy flash, like,
Yeah.
flash cut to,
Essentially like
Take On Me, like an
Animatics.
animated,
Yeah.
like, hand-drawn style.
yeah.
But, like, which was fine, like, that was probably
I
around the
would've
same time as
preferred
the
it to
music
be
video.
all
Yeah.
But,
repeat clips.
yeah, the transition,
or all-
the
yeah.
transition felt very harsh. It was
Yeah.
very strong, and just seemed weird. And then I liked in the credits they also in their special thanks section they had one for Bigfoot. Of course.
That's sweet.
Um,
And I noticed ILM in there. What does it stand for?
Industrial Light and
Industrial
Magic.
Light. Yeah, they did
Famous
stuff
for
for
Star
Star
Wars, George
Wars. So
Lucas's
I thought it was
company,
cool
of
that they
course.
had that behind them.
yeah. So some trivia.
Yeah. So this movie had a $10 million budget, and it grossed $50 million in the box office.
Do you
it
have
actually,
any idea comparatively for the 80s what that was?
No, I don't. I didn't compare the.
Because I know
cost.
for nowadays that's incredibly low.
It is not as much as they wanted to make. They said.
Oh, okay, wow. I would not think that. It looks like a big budget movie, especially with the
Yeah.
cast too. Well,
Yeah.
we can talk about that. I'll talk about
Well,
the cast
so it
after.
opened third in the box office. I didn't write down the other two that were ahead of it, but
I feel like
it was
late
more
80s were very
drama.
stacked with a lot of popular
Mhm.
movies too.
And yeah, it only made like 24 million in its opening or something like that. So
I don't know if you read about this.
yes, the posters.
Well, the marketing in general.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they didn't want to like give away. They didn't want to show Bigfoot in like the promotion, the
Mhm.
marketing and stuff. So they didn't really show him, and we'll show you guys the poster in a minute if you haven't seen it.
Not the people listening, because this is an audio.
Yeah, I mean,
medium.
you can look it up on Wikipedia or Google, but we saw it on Wikipedia.
You do the work.
We'll describe it.
But in the marketing, they didn't want to like give away what Bigfoot looks like, so they didn't show him. But then they think that led to not many people realizing it was a Bigfoot movie, which is part of why.
And
it
they
didn't
also
do well.
thought it was a horror movie. So
Oh, yeah.
that's what I was reading. People were interpreting the marketing push as horror in the first week. So what they did is they reworked it and showed Harry sitting in the back of the car, the station wagon.
Well, with not knowing it was Bigfoot for UK and some other countries, they actually renamed it to Bigfoot and the Hendersons.
I did see that.
So
yeah.
people would know it was a Bigfoot movie. But yeah, let me show you guys the
Oh,
poster.
yeah, one
It's-
second while we look at this.
That looks like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad.
Okay,
That's really bad.
so for the people
That's
who aren't looking at it
terrible.
or don't
Oh my
want to look
God.
at it,
Don't look at it, please.
it's a mostly black poster.
He has eyes.
Yeah, the top third of it, I would say,
Is just his eyes.
just his
The rest
eyes.
is in shadow. Underneath that, in small words, it says, "According to science, Bigfoot doesn't exist." And then the only other thing you really see is part of his hand holding a rose.
One single rose,
And then
that's
it's-
like centered completely.
And then covering most of his hand, it says Harry and the Hendersons.
It kind of looks like Mr. Popo, actually.
Yeah, it does. And then
It
underneath,
almost looks trippy the way the
Yeah.
word the
and then
Harry's, like,
underneath
all
the title,
rainbow
it
and
says,
swirly.
"When you can't believe your eyes, trust your heart." Now, see, that combined with the rose makes it look to me like a romance movie.
Yeah.
But like a creepy romance movie, like a
Right.
like
So
a thriller or something.
Like
So
some-
that
being
scene
stalked.
in the
yeah.
scene in the bedroom with the daughter.
Exactly.
If it was just that,
or
fleshed
like
out more.
it feels very much like a Beauty and the Beast type of thing. It's
Yeah.
like a very
Yeah.
bad
The
poster.
poster just looks creepy. The poster does a very bad job of conveying the tone of the movie.
Because again,
what
they
it's
didn't want to
about,
show all of Bigfoot.
which I can
Right.
get, but there's
Yeah.
definitely different ways to go.
yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was
Especially,
not
I feel
a
like
good
for this
choice.
movie, like I feel like they should have, because you see him in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
Right.
there's
If it
also-
were
Actually,
like-
they did avoid showing its face, I think, until
They
the
did.
refrigerator scene.
Yeah.
Well, you saw it a little bit when it like leans over
No,
the
I
car
mean, a
upside
little bit.
down.
Yeah,
But-
Briefly.
yeah.
But like if it were a traditional horror movie or a monster movie or something where like you don't see the monster till like the last half hour, the marketing would make more sense. But you see him so early and for so much of the movie.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's why when they reworked
I
it, they
do
did
agree.
end up just. I'm sure it might be even a silhouette. I didn't look up the new poster.
It
I
just seems
saw
like
the
a weird choice
description
to
of
have
it.
made in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, there's no surprise that they're really
Yeah.
spoiling with it because it's not information they're withholding in the movie. The thing that you do with horror movies is you build up that
Yeah.
suspense and
Right.
Yeah,
mystery
the
where
thing
you
you
want to
don't
see
see,
it.
the thing
but
you
in
don't see
this,
is more
like-
frightening than the thing you do see. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
Well,
not
the Blair
holding
Witch
back that
Yeah, exactly.
information. It's not like they're trying to keep it hidden
Yeah,
or
exactly.
private or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
They give it to you
Yeah.
right off the bat. So
Who knows?
Weird
it's not
choice.
destroying
They
any
realized what they were
mystery.
doing wrong. I mean, even
Yeah.
after they changed the marketing campaign, they apparently didn't do quite as well as they wanted still, but
Damage
I mean,
is already done.
But at least the people knew what they were getting into going into the
Yeah.
movie. So
but that didn't stop them from creating a 72
72 episode
72
sitcom
episode sitcom.
spin-off.
Jesus
Which-
Christ, are you me?
No. It ran from 1991 to 1993, 72 half-hour episodes. I
What?
find this especially wild because I am very familiar with the movie. I had no idea like this existed. Like I'm not
It
surprised
must be
if
pretty
you guys
terrible if you don't know it existed.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so there's actually full episodes of it on YouTube if you're curious. We didn't watch it, but we watched the opening credits. The whole cast is gone except for the actor that played Bigfoot, but we'll talk about
yeah.
somewhat. We'll talk about the actors
Okay.
soon.
yeah, Lithgow was busy with Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah.
But the opening titles were very weird. It was set
Very
to
long. It was one of the songs that was in the movie.
was it?
Mhm.
Okay. I knew a version of it was, but I wasn't sure if
It's
it was
like
the
the
same version.
feet.
It was like your feet are too big or something.
Yeah.
But it's like a very not mellow, but it's like not an upbeat like sitcom opening
Yeah.
song.
It almost feels like something that like everything is terrible or like
it
what is
feels
it, Adult
very
Swim would
it
do?
feels very
Yeah.
much like a parody.
Yeah.
Like Too Many Cooks.
Yeah,
It
that's
feels
what I'm
very
getting at.
much like a parody of a sitcom opening. Cause like there's also no sound. It said it was a commercial, so it might not have been the full opening.
Oh.
I think it was though, but there were no sound effects. It was just the footage set to the music.
Yeah.
So it was like this, however the song went, but like this, like very low energy music set to like these like very like classic
Energetic
sitcom.
scenes.
Like the
Like
dad
the-
sits down in his chair, Bigfoot sits next to him and breaks it. Like very sitcom.
Bigfoot is
Yeah.
dancing with the little son.
Yeah,
Kid.
they're dancing.
Like, but like to music
So-
that does not
Yeah.
warrant.
So I
dancing
guess
to.
I'm not surprised that it exists because there were a lot of TV spin-offs of movies around it, like Clueless, whatever. But I'm surprised that it lasted for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Should I talk about cast?
I didn't really write down.
Oh, I just got- I have a few short
Oh,
notes.
the one like some of the movie's on, and it's the beginning scene where the mom is like poking her head out the window, saying her thing, poking her head out the window. That whole bit, and I was like, "Wait, is that the mom from A Christmas Story?" And Jesse's
Yeah.
like, "How did you not
Yeah.
know?"
The mom, Nancy, is played by Melinda Dillon, who, I mean, has been in a lot of things, but I know her as Ralphie's mom from A Christmas Story.
I've literally never seen A Christmas Story.
Have you seen A Christmas Story?
I do not like A Christmas Story.
Well, I
I'm
love A
sorry.
Christmas Story, and she's the mom in that, so I was happy to see her. John Lithgow, obviously, Third Rock from the Sun, a lot of
a
things.
lot of things.
Great. He was really good in
He's
this.
good. Yeah,
Um,
they're both good. I like both those actors.
yeah. The kids, not really in a
Well,
lot.
I feel like
I knew the girl from something.
She was in a few things, nothing I recognize, but they both basically retired from acting, and she's now a writer who owns sort of publishing / I think editing company.
Nice.
Yeah, so good for her.
Yeah.
So Jacques the Hunter was played by David Suchet, who he's been in a lot too, but he's most famous for playing Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, and just a famous detective. I just think it's impressive because he played Poirot over the course of 25 years and literally adapted every like novel and short story about him that Agatha Christie wrote. Like he
Wow.
Oh, actually,
Well done.
I haven't seen any versions of it, but Murder on the Orient Express is a Poirot story. I think Kenneth Branagh played him in the most recent movie. I
I've
think
never seen any of them, so
that's the most famous one. That's been adapted a lot, but he portrayed him for 25 years, which I think is impressive. Actually, I will talk about this now. I thought I liked him as an actor. I thought he was a really weird choice to play the Hunter. He was balding, not physically imposing or physically impressive at all, and they went with a French character, which is like such a non-threatening accent. Like, I feel like
It was a lot of weird
Yeah.
choices, yeah.
it just seemed like a really weird character. Like, it should have been, like, I feel very, like, pompous whenever, like, comparing something to the Cryptid cases, but, like, someone like Faulkner, like, he's a threatening dude. Like, I picture him, like, tall, muscular, like, he's a hunter. I mean, granted, hunting a lot of hunting is, like, guns and stuff. You don't need to be physically fit, but, like, he didn't seem threatening outside of, like, owning guns. He just seemed like a very weird choice, especially the accent.
yeah, take away his guns and it's like, okay, now what?
He's just a dude.
I will find the
Like, if
Bigfoot
anything, I
and
wonder
I will kill
what it would
him.
be like if they switched the guy who played Wrightwood with the guy who played Jacques.
Well, even then, Wrightwood was kind of old, so he would also be...
Hey, old people can do stuff.
No, I know, I'm just saying, like, that also goes with, like, the not, like, physically...
Yeah, imposing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just seemed like... Anyway, that's my bit about that. Dr. Wrightwood was played by Don Ameche, who had a long career. He was acting in, like, the 30s. I knew him from one thing. Does anyone recognize him?
I'm sure I'll know when you tell me.
Or his voice? He was Shadow in Homeward Bound.
Oh, don't bring that movie up.
Yeah, speaking of sad animal movies.
Yeah, I've not seen that one in
Yeah,
probably
he was
well
the voice
over
of
a
Shadow,
decade.
the golden retriever, right?
Yeah.
And then Harry himself was played by Kevin Peter Hall, who was obviously a very tall actor, and the suit made him look a little taller. Most famous for playing the Predator in Predator and Predator 2.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
He also played Harry in the first few episodes of the TV show, but
I
sadly,
think it was like the first 15, yeah.
Yeah,
he passed away.
He died at 35 from
Pneumonia.
pneumonia due to
AIDS.
HIV. Yeah, AIDS,
Yeah.
HIV.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's super
So
sad.
Wow,
sad.
you just took this on a real
Yeah.
sad turn.
So-
Jeez.
Yeah.
So if you ever, AIDS is the one thing to kill Predator and Bigfoot.
Whoa,
Like-
yeah, when you put it that way.
I do like earlier when Harry was watching TV, he was watching like a chimp throw a pie at someone. I
Yeah,
thought
and he
that was-
laughed every time the
Silly
chimp did
humans.
something against the other humans.
We already talked about Rick Baker, who won an Oscar, well deserved, done a lot of shit.
The cinematographer also did E.T. He worked a lot with Spielberg
Oh,
in
makes
general.
sense.
He did the Twilight Zone movie.
Oh.
He did other things too, but he got his start as far as notable things with Spielberg.
The last thing I have about the cast is the writer / director was William Deere, who has done not a ton, but a decent amount. I haven't seen it, but the only thing he did that I really knew of was Angels in the Outfield. So another
Oh, okay,
kids
yep.
family movie. And then the only other note I have at all is apparently, according to IMDb, one of the other writers on the film wrote music for one of my personal favorites, Harry Nilsson, and naming Bigfoot Harry was supposedly a nod to him.
Oh,
So that makes me
that's
really happy.
sweet.
Does anyone else have anything we didn't get to?
I think we covered everything that I had written down.
Oh, yeah, we
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's most of the notes. Well, things that stuck out in my head anyway.
Final judgment.
Great
I liked
movie.
it.
Would
Yeah.
watch again.
No,
Not a
I was
big of
surprised.
family
I did
movies,
not
but
think I was gonna like
I
it.
survived.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like I said earlier, it definitely holds up.
Yeah.
I feel like. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're into a Bigfoot film.
Or if you're like into vegetarianism.
Yeah. It was interesting to see that the movie had such a pro animal slant. It was very unexpected.
Especially, like for the late 80s, that might not have been the most popular stance to
like
take.
even
I feel like it might have been easier to take in the 80s because it not being as popular, it wouldn't have seemed as much as the movie taking a stance. It would have just seemed more like a plot device.
Maybe.
But like even things like the sister like berating them for hunting and like just like little things all throughout the movie. It just seemed like an interesting, or like when they have Rightwood over for dinner, he's like. Or one of them says, like, where's the pot roast? Oh, it's buried in a shallow grave in the backyard. And then he's like, oh, are you vegetarians? Like, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Depends on who's over for dinner.
I'll have to look into it and see. If
Just wasn't expecting it, you
maybe
know?
Deer himself is a vegetarian or something. I wonder. But anyways,
Yeah,
It was an
definitely
unexpected take on Bigfoot.
Yeah, definitely aligns sort of with our conservation
theme
in the show.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I hate referring to the show because I feel so like, well, to compare it to our works.
Oh, well, you know.
But yeah, I feel like it is similar.
I feel like in a thing like this, it's better to compare it to a thing that you're actually making to see it from that viewpoint.
All right, so I think that does it for a successful episode 1. If you're listening to this, that means you're a patron, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
seriously, you guys oh god, you
My
make me
heart,
so happy.
skips a beat when I see that people are.
It's still kind of like
stuff.
mind blowing thinking like we're doing something that people like enough to give us money to keep doing it. Like,
yeah,
or that people just like, right?
Yeah,
like it's just like anytime someone like leaves a comment or says anything.
Yeah, we've been doing this for almost 3
a
years
lot,
now.
Yeah. Oh my god!
Yeah, so. Like, I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of sad that like we've gone this long without, doing much until now. But like the fact that we are starting to get supporters and patrons, it means so much.
Yeah,
it's really so. Thank you.
Yeah, because when you create something and you put it out to the world, it's scary.
It's scary.
So yeah, thank you.
We promise we won't ramble about gratitude this much in every episode.
Yeah.
Well,
I will.
He promises that, but I don't think he can make that
see.
promise for everyone.
Danielle's a contrarian. All right.
what that means.
So good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.